Welcome to the It Blooms podcast special that will be entirely in English. I will be talking to young creatives from all over the globe about their life, practice, their struggles and future visions. My name is Veja and I'll be your host. Elise Guerrier is a graphic designer with multidisciplinary practice based in Paris. She finished her master's degree in Amiens, north of France, at the College of Art and Design. Her work deals with political and social issues such as feminism, reproductive philosophy, womanhood, human rights, and great wrongs. She has interest in writing. The notion of fiction and storytelling are present in her work not only through typography but also through color. She's a perfectionist and visual nerd. Welcome, Elise.
Thank you, Veja. Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about your childhood and how you came about doing what you do.
I really like drawing, but at the beginning I was like every child. I started to have an interest in books quite early and writing stories, but I tried to do books like to make them.
So you would put together a couple of papers and then you would, as if you are the writer, write the text and then you would draw pictures?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
Quite simple. I imagine me as an editor or a writer, and that was quite my dream job.
I think you said that you had a blog at one point as well.
Yeah, but it was later. With the blog, I learned how to write articles, and I took a lot of pleasure to do it. And I think because at that time I didn't really like school. I really enjoyed the art course, but it wasn't so much.
What was it for you in school that you didn't enjoy? What didn't you like?
The thing is, I wasn't really good, especially in maths and science in general. I specialize in the literary field, so we had a lot of courses, literature, English, history. It gave me some self-confidence at this time. I saw that I managed to evolve, and I found some courses that I was good at.
Personally, I would appreciate that, for example, during high school, they wouldn't make it seem so traumatic if we didn't excel at some things. And I feel like it would have been a world different if they would just make their peace with the fact that it's okay if you don't excel at, one thing and then you're good in the other. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to make it in the world or that you're not going to do what you like.
Yeah, I understood that, but later I knew that I was good at something else. And I think maybe sometimes we have to give up, okay, I'm not good at maths, but it's okay because I'm good at graphic design.
I think I understood this quite late. I mean, soon enough, but I wish I had known it a bit earlier. Because I'd never thought that maybe the fact that I'm good at the visual stuff would be, enough.
Yeah, and also I think knowing where you're not good at something, it can help you to choose what you want to do after. I have a lot of friends that are good at every courses in high school or middle school, but when they had to choose what they wanted to do as a job, it was really difficult for them because they have so many possibilities. And for me, it was really, really simple. I remember because I found the idea of being a graphic designer, reading an article and realizing that what I took for editor was graphic designer. It was this solution.
We studied together in Oslo at the Academy of the Arts, and you were there for Erasmus. If you could compare studying graphic design in Amiens, in France, compared to Oslo, and also how was your life there compared to home?
Yeah, I can only speak for the two schools that I did because I can imagine that in other French schools or Norwegian schools, it's a totally different way to study. in Oslo, the big difference with Amiens was that in Oslo, it's a really big school that has a lot of fields. And in the master, we are all together, all mixed. And in Amiens, we are only graphic designers. So that was the first difference, and I really enjoyed discovering new fields as fashion design, furniture design, costume design, and also testing the different workshops that Oslo has. When I was in Oslo, I had the opportunity to be part of a collective made by an artist called Dora Garcia, and the collective name was Rosamer. And so I did theater for the first time. I really enjoyed it. It was completely new and scary. And because we presented the play during the Oslo Biennale in front of critics. And in Amiens, I didn't have this kind of opportunity. It's a city where you don't have a lot of cultural events. And I mean, the life in Oslo is completely different because of the weather.
What was it for you that was the positives and the negatives of living in Oslo when you say about weather, but also other things? I'm just curious if we have the same ideas, yeah.
Depends on the time of the year in Oslo, I think, because in winter you don't have a lot of lights and it's kind of cold. You have to admit it. The snow was completely changing the city. When it's summer, you have a lot of more space. I mean, it's stupid to say that, but I didn't realize it before living in Oslo. Because of this weather, every shop closes early. So that's the negative thing. Oslo is an expensive city, so you don't have a lot of possibilities to meet outside when you don't have a lot of money, for example. But during spring or summer, it's a city made for this time of the year because you have a lot of nature parks, places to meet outside.
Sometimes it felt like you went directly from a sorrow to being so happy being outside. It's just, I don't know, 1 week and everything changes and then you feel like you want to stay there forever. And you're just in the park, you live outdoors. And from being closed inside, not really having that much money to, go to cafes or restaurants and meet people in the winter time, you go to meeting people almost every day, being outside, staying long, going swimming, going to parks. There's so many outdoors parties or just events. So then you become so happy that you never want it to end, kind of.
Yes, exactly. But I forgot that in Oslo, during winter, you have also the ski station. I mean, it's so cool to just take the metro to go skiing.
I kind of regret not ever doing it because I am a skier. But definitely, if I ever go back, I want to catch up on that. What about you? Have you ever thought about, moving to Oslo or trying to live there?
I mean, if there weren't the language barrier, why not? But I think if you're not speaking the language of your country, it's quite difficult to integrate yourself. It's quite frustrating to not understand the conversations, in the bus or in the tramway, in the street. I mean, you don't feel the country in general.
And I agree. If you have a really well-paid job and if you learn the language, it's a wonderful place to be. I remember your first project was about feminism, this print on textile, and I remember we talked about it quite a lot because I was in fashion and costume, so I was invested in textiles. What was this project about? Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, so it was a project ordered by our teacher in school, and he wanted us to do a kanga, and it's a piece of fabric that Tanzania women wear as a dress or other things. Also, they use that to cook or for a lot of uses. And on this piece of fabric, there's a print, but also a sentence, like a proverb, that they use to communicate with each other. Because a specialist of the Kanga came to explain to us what it was, I found that it was a funny way of communicate, because sometimes this Kanga can create conflicts between women. I saw that a link to feminism. It's completely different, but I related it to when I first say to my friends that I was a feminist. A lot of them didn't want to say the same, because it's like for them it was only a radical movement. But they say that they were for equality between men and women. And I was quite frustrated that they didn't want to say loudly that they were feminists, because feminism is before everything else, will of equality between men and women. So I wrote on the Kanga, yes, I am a feminist, to make the link between the proverb and reflection.
I remember we talked about this, and that there is always this fight that seemed so silly between one group that is trying to stay educated on the nuances of feminism, and then there was another one that wants to stay away from it and is saying that it's radical movement, and then it's just trying to mock men, and that they are trying to be above everybody. And that was kind of funny to me. So I remember when I saw your piece of fabric, it was not radical. The colors, the way it was assembled, it was very pleasing to look at, but at the same time it had a strong message. And in the end, I remember it got stolen, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I had to redo it because someone took it.
I remember I was wondering if it was taken because they wanted to have it at home, or if it was out of rage.
Maybe it's the first answer, like they took it because they liked it, because we are in an art school, so a lot of people are more open about this subject.
Going from, very broad topic of feminism to more of cross-generational one, because I remember you were part of this play where you wrote the script about dinner party with your parents and your grandmother, and then there was arguments, and then the energy was just racing. What did you want to tell with it? Because I have quite a lot of experience living cross-generationally, because I grew up around my grandparents, living in the same house, so it was very close to me.
It's a timeless subject. I wanted to talk about it because it was just after Christmas dinner, and also it was during the Yellow Vest movement in France, so we had a lot of arguments about it.
I assume that when there are protests going on, the discussion can get quite heated.
Yes, exactly. With this play, I wanted to express my frustrations about these arguments. I think a lot of times it ends when the older person say that we are young, so we don't know life. And so the play was just a way to express this feeling.
So what is the difference now between Elise, that is a graphic designer and does commercial clientele work, and Elise, that is freshly educated, part of an artistic collective, works with textile, works with theater, and is an artist on its own?
Yeah, it's funny that you're asking this question, because I just finished my master degree. I tried to find what I want to do just after. I think I have a pluridisciplinary practice, and I don't want to stay with one medium like books or websites. I don't want to choose. And now I also want to experience more graphic design in space, like during exhibitions or installations, or signalétic, and maybe why not objects and fabric. I would really like doing graphic design for fashion. And for my personal practice, my personal way to see graphic design, I'm really interested in fiction, the notion of fiction and narration, storytelling. I like the way that graphic design can tell stories. And sometimes it's kind of hard to accept this interest, because if you look at it in the commercial field, it's what you can call branding, and branding, it's close to publicity. It's the universe that you want to give to a brand, the story that you want to tell. It's the dark side of graphic design, but I try to think that maybe if you choose ethic brands, it's not too bad. I mean, you will always try to manipulate people with the branding. But that's also a difficult question for a graphic designer, because when imagine that Nike is asking you to do an artwork for them, it's evil in ethic. What will be your answer? It's hard to say.
So what would you say to young creatives that are maybe struggling the same way, to try to find questions between doing this for a living and being able to pay the bills, and then also not compromising on your values and on your art and not pushing that too much into the corner? Is there a balance that you can find?
It's an hard question, because I don't really have the answer right now. I'm still figuring it out, what I could say to Nike if they ask me for a commission work. The idea is to work ethically in any way, and for good brands. I mean, that's already a compromise, because if you don't want to only work for the cultural field, you can choose to work for an ethic brand or for planet and for people.
What are your plans for 2021, if you have any?
Well, yeah, obviously it will depend of the situation. In 2020, we couldn't do a lot of things as traveling. So maybe in 2020, I'll try to travel, but we'll see with the situation, as we said.
Thank you so much for talking to me. It's been so lovely to catch up and also to go down memory lane when we used to study together. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, thank you to you. It was a real pleasure.
And that's a wrap, my friends. If you like this English special and you want to support It Blooms podcast, we'll be extremely happy if you share your excitement with your family and friends, and that way help us grow this community. You can catch up with us on Facebook or Instagram under the It Blooms podcast handle, but you can also listen to the rest of the Slovak episodes at your usual podcast handles such as Spotify, Apple or Google, or find us on YouTube. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate all the love, and see you soon at the next episode.